Hey there, and welcome to another free tutorial video brought to you by rcnightmare.com. Today we're going to take a more formal look at what is RC racing. This isn't a, very specific look at racing. It's more of a general look at racing when compared to bashing. Things like what you might be wondering when you're going out and buying your first RC. If you want to get into racing, if you want to get into bashing, there's a couple of key things that are different between the two. So some of the basic facts about racing is really it can be inside or outside, electric or nitro. It can be non-formal to very competitive. There's a wide variety of classes, a wide variety of skill sets. It usually costs money to enter these races, and they're regulated by the regulation committee. For example, ROAR, and their regulation guide is over 100 pages long. To give you an idea of what I mean as far as wide variety of classes or non-formal to competitive, our local hobby store here, and probably a lot like where you live, has a league. It races 3 nights a week. You pay something like $10 to actually be a part of it. But this is more formal. You go, you pay your money, you do your time trials, you get lined up, and you race. However, it's more on the casual side in that there's not a ton of restrictions. When you look at the classes that we have, it's usually something like short course trucks have to either be stock or modified, buggies stock or modified, and they're all electric. It's not like they're out looking at your tires or anything super specific like that. Places you can race, obviously local hobby shops. Maybe you have your own backyard track if you want to do casual racing. There's usually some sort of scoring system, software like RC Scoring Pro, things like that, A&B systems that work with a receiver on the actual RCs to time things right down to the 100th of a second. You can race on dirt, carpet, or cement, and like I said, indoor or outdoor. A wide variety of skills. And if you're looking for local tracks, you can go out to the Roar Racing website, and they have a great track locator that's really up to date. Now, what to race? Depending on what kind of group you're in, what kind of club you're in, you can race cars, trucks, or boats, really any brand. But it can depend on class. For example, if you're racing in a local league like the one I race in, there's either stock or modified. Stock means it's a 17.5 turn motor in my particular class. They limit you to a 2S LiPo. Other than that, as long as it's two-wheel drive, you're running a 17.5 turn or equivalent motor, you're good to go. Other races are more particular about what you can actually enter into the race. Again, besides a two-wheel drive, we have four-wheel drive class. Again, with four-wheel drive, there's stock and modified. Same thing. Stock, you have to follow a very specific engine setting, and modified, you can do whatever you want. Still, you have to adhere to the 2S LiPo battery, but you can run whatever kind of motor you want. Really depends on the track or the club that you're in. Race what you like. Get in, if you're going to race competitively, you want to race something that you have fun with, something that you understand, something you can tune, because you're really going to be looking at shaving hundredths of a second or tenths of a second off your lap times while you're out there practicing. And be aware of any restrictions, like indoor nitro, for example. If you want to get into nitro and you want to race, you'd better look for an outdoor track. There may not be something like that where you're located. I talked earlier about some race regulations. More specifically, some of the more common things you'll see are battery restrictions. Okay, so the 2S LiPo, if you're racing a LiPo, that's kind of where it tops out there, according to ROAR. There's also all sorts of track restrictions that your local track has to adhere to if they want to be ROAR approved. Things like lane width, surface types. If you look at the ROAR guide, which is available from their website, you can see there's restrictions on radio equipment. But from what I experienced, most local tracks basically just restrict the motor and the battery. But before you buy your RC, if you want to get into racing, simply call up your local track and see what their restrictions are. Ours, for example, has it posted on their website very clearly. If you want to race in the stock class, here's what you need to race. If you want to race in modified, here are the restrictions. We have something that's also called Sportsman, which is for new racers. There you're racing stock, but it's really all kind of makes and models, and it's really just a fun kind of fun racing. That's what a lot of people start with when they get into it. Some of the different types of classes, like we talked about earlier, you'll have your two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive. This could be trucks, buggies, truggies, whatever your particular track wants to race. There's stock class, which is, like I said, essentially out of the box or stock spec. Modified class, where you can have a lot more freedom as far as souping up your motor and ESC and things like that. Sportsman, like I mentioned too, where that's a little more for the casual racer. It's highly regulated, and when you're looking at racing, you want to really pay attention to motor and battery restrictions. These are things that matter. Okay, brushed, brushless, what's allowed? How many turns are allowed? Is it 17.5 turn, or is it something different? You need to do this research ahead of time if you want to get into racing. To summarize it, typically you'll find people who like both, but they lean towards one as something they really like. For example, I love racing because I love the competitive nature of it. But I like bashing because I like to just walk out my back door and burn up a couple of light bulbs outside and have fun. So for me, bashing with a competitive edge, something like car tag or demo derby, or even setting up backyard tracks, that's more my game. But for you, maybe you like to work in a more controlled environment. A lot of people really love racing stock because you're racing the same motor, essentially the same stuff against the same stuff. You're really battling your ability to tune against somebody else's and your ability to drive against somebody else's. But when you race, you want to be thoughtful and respectful of other people's vehicles. Some people spend a lot of money on their trucks or cars or buggies, and you may not, or you may care a little less. Generally, I'm pretty loose on the track. I have that reputation at my local track, but because I'm there every week, people know who I am, and they're willing to laugh it off with me because they know I'm just having fun. I also don't race in the highly competitive circuits for that reason. Some people take it very seriously, and that's totally cool. But you want to do your research ahead of time and spend some time practicing. My track holds races 3 days a week. The other 4 days, they're wide open for practice. So I'm in there at least 1 day a week, getting my lines down, practicing the jumps, making sure I know how to take the triples, the doubles, how to do the turns, when to brake, things like that. Because when you've got 8 or 10 other vehicles out there, you need to be running your own race. You need to be aware of what's going on, and you need to know this. The only way you can know it is by practicing. A side benefit too, it's a great place to meet people. Most of my experience with local hobby shop tracks or local tracks, everyone's there for the fun of it. There's very few people who take it too seriously, and you can meet a lot of friends. And I've met a lot of friends, made a lot of long-term friendships in the race leagues. And you want to watch the risks. Maybe you buy something that you can't use in the stock spec, or maybe you are used to a little bit of leeway, but you don't get that type of leeway when it comes to racing, and it can get expensive. And like I said earlier, maybe you can make some people angry if you're too sloppy on the track. It can be sort of stressful, and it's not quite as fun and carefree as bashing. But really, the bottom line summary is, if you like competition and you like tuning, racing is really something I think you're going to enjoy. If you like some tuning, but you really just like to go out and have a lot of fun, bashing is probably more your thing. And again, I meet somewhere in the middle, and I think most people do as well. I bash, but I make a competition out of it. I'm fortunate enough to have some friends in the area that get into the same sort of things I do, and so we make a game out of it on Saturdays, and we have fun with it. But sometimes the only place you have to race is at the track, and This is why being careful, doing your research, and going into it with your eyes wide open is important. See what everybody else is racing at the track. Figure out what you like, what kind of rig you want to run, and then make your purchase. So I hope this short PowerPoint helps outline some of the advantages and disadvantages to racing. There's different levels of racing. Like I said, there's local hobby shop racing. There's also big national races, or there's citywide races or state races. This is taking racing to the next level. There's stock spec as well. But it's important you kind of know what you're getting into when you get into racing, and know that there's a lot of regulation and there can be some hurt feelings and it's a little more stressful. But if you crave competition, it's an amazing sport. It's a lot of fun, and I hope that those of you who are excited by that watch this video and decide, hey, racing's for me. And I hope those of you that are not interested in that watch this video and they say, hey, look, this made up my mind. I think I just want to bash and get into that. So hopefully this video is helpful to you. And if you have any questions about racing specifically, regulations, things like that, simply post them below. And if this video helped you, help us by subscribing to our channel so you can get the most up-to-date information about our new videos, what's going on with us, and keep your information fresh with new how-to tutorials and a free computer repair forum located at www.rcnightmare.com. Thanks, and I hope you have a great day.